Hey guys, Mr. Kreider here. Let's go over a sequence of tenses. This is the next grammar lesson. Okay. So I want you to turn to page 98 in your book, and I also want for you to get out your grammar notes. So hit pause and do that. Okay, unpause. Let's get back to this. Let's get right into it right away. All right. So what I'm going to do is kind of go over my notes and let's just make sure you guys have this down. This is not something that I got right away when I was your age. This is something that's going to take a little time, a little effort, but luckily you don't have to worry about a test on this year. This is just something that you're going to learn this year and be able to use as you move forward. Okay. But go back, use your book, use this video, use your notes, use it all as you're working on the homework for chapter 50. Okay? All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to separate our verbs a little differently than we have previously. Before, we have separated our verbs based on whether they were in the perfect system or not. So remember we had present, imperfect, and future all together, and then we had perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect together. Now we're going to separate them and do it in a new system called the sequence of tenses. And that is right here on the bottom of page 98. Okay. And they go in there and explain it to you, and I would like for you to read over that before you watch this video. So if you haven't done that, hit pause and go ahead and do that, and then come back to me. Okay, but I did say that in the assignment that you should watch the video, or that you should read first and then watch the video. So hopefully you did that. All right. So both sequences we're talking about when we have a main clause, which is also called an independent clause in English classes sometimes. We're going to take that main clause. It's always going to use indicative verbs in this scenario that we're dealing with today. Okay. And the primary sequence includes, for the main clause, present, future, and future perfect. And in fact, in your notes, I want for you to write down this chart that is on the bottom of page 98. Okay? So the primary sequence includes, for the main clause, present, future, and future perfect. The secondary sequence includes, for the main clause, the remaining ones, imperfect, perfect, and pluperfect. Okay? Now, in the subordinate clause, or what we sometimes call the dependent clause, the one that can't stand by itself, okay, we choose which tense of the subjunctive to use based on a time relationship to that main clause. Okay? So I'm going to use a word called contemporaneous. It's a word that's one that you should know. It means something it's a synonym for the meaning happening at the same time. Okay? So for the primary sequence, you're going to use the present subjunctive for things that are contemporaneous, happening right now, the same time as that main clause, or for things that are future actions, things that will happen afterwards. Okay? And then for the primary sequence, we're going to use the perfect subjunctive for previous actions or past actions. So the two new tenses that you learned are the present and the perfect subjunctive. And we're going to take those tenses and use them for primary sequence verbs. Okay? And so your primary sequence verbs are present, future, and future perfect. I know I'm saying this all fast. Hit pause, go back, okay? Figure this out together. Or, well, you can get together in little group chats, right? Google Hangouts or whatever you want to do, FaceTime. But really, this is the key. Go back, look at the video, reread the notes, and then just do your best on the exercise. All right, let's keep going. For the secondary sequence, you're going to use the two tenses that we already knew in the subjunctive. So for the secondary sequence, use imperfect subjunctive for things that are contemporaneous or future actions. And for the secondary sequence, you're going to use the pluperfect subjunctive for previous or past actions. Okay, so this probably all sounds pretty familiar to you. Okay, and that's because we have done this before. We introduced at the beginning of the year the subjunctive mood. We introduced cum causal, the cum circumstantial, and indirect statements. We had to choose between imperfect or pluperfect subjunctive depending on how it was related to the other part of the sentence. This is just an extension of that same concept. So, all right, that's enough for today. Tackle this assignment, refer back to your book, refer to this video for support, talk to each other. You guys have each other's support, okay? You can chat with each other. You can do all the things that you guys already did before this distance learning happened, okay? Remember, you can hit pause, rewind whenever you need. Work on 50C for about 15 minutes today so that you can really have tried and practiced with it, okay? You should be able to get through most of it, if not all of it. Remember, we're going from Latin to English. That's easier. It's easier, less complicated. Think of that "Go for it" poster, right? I did not bring it home when I packed up my classroom, but think of it, all right? All right, last, just remember, coronavirus delendus est. Okay, bye-bye.